Pakistan International Airlines. Once a global icon, now, thanks to decades of mismanagement, corruption, and anything synonymous with those words, struggles to survive today as the tiny flag carrier of the world's fifth largest country by population. The conversation of PIA being privatized is nothing new, and there have been various unsuccessful attempts made to privatize the airline in the past. However, the current conversation around privatizing PIA has been gaining traction, and it seems the government is actually making an effort to save its failing flag carrier. Are these efforts worth it, and will they eventually pay off? Let's explore these questions in today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy. The first area we should address in this video is regarding whether or not privatizing PIA is even worth it. In my opinion, it's absolutely necessary. Other than privatization, the only other way that I could see PIA being remotely successful is if they remain government-controlled but get some sort of foreign investment. But I would say that scenario is highly unlikely given that Pakistan itself is dealing with rising debt and inflation. That said, despite there already being significant foreign investment in Pakistan, any foreign company would understandably be reluctant to invest in a company controlled by the government. So yes, I think PIA has to be privatized in order to move forward because the way things are looking right now under the current management, it's not looking too good. PIA is so tight on money that a few months back there was a whole fiasco surrounding the fuel supply for its aircraft. And it's not because Pakistan state oil was low on fuel, no, it's because PIA themselves couldn't pay the fuel bills. Because of that, they were forced to cancel over 300 flights in 10 days simply because they couldn't pay for the fuel to operate their planes. That's not the only example I have to share. 7,000 PIA employees, that's virtually all of them I think, did not and I think still have not received their November salaries because PIA doesn't have enough money to pay them. Like, you actually can't make this stuff up. These kind of things are unheard of in the airline industry. Thankfully, as of August, the Pakistani government has taken action to get the privatization process underway. It's actually pretty much because they had to, as after Pakistan's $3 billion bailout by the IMF back in June, a condition agreed upon for this bailout was that Pakistan would be more fiscally responsible. This led to a specific committee being formed to privatize various government assets, which include PIA. A two-part plan was then established to save the airline. The first involves creating a new holding company to which all of PIA's assets and liabilities will be transferred. The second phase involves PIA being restructured by a foreign consultant, with 40% of its shares being sold internationally that effectively turns PIA into a public-private partnership. As of now, that foreign consultant in question has been selected. The Pakistani government selected a consortium led by the multinational business consultancy firm Ernst & Young, better known as EY. The EY consortium will serve as the main financial advising entity in PIA's partial privatization, according to an announcement made in November. It should also be noted that until Pakistan's next general election concludes, there will not be any official privatization of state-owned entities. At the moment, the general election is scheduled for February 8th, but whether or not this will be put on hold or changed again remains to be seen. Nonetheless, Pakistan's privatization minister is hopeful that PIA's partial privatization can be sorted by the end of the first quarter of 2024. So let's now talk about who could or would invest in PIA. It's a tough subject since PIA is already so in debt that it would be a massive effort to get the airline turned around. It's worth noting that Pakistan's other 4 passenger airlines are all privately owned and operated. For example, Air Sial is owned by the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce, and Fly Jinnah is jointly owned by Pakistan's Laksan Group and the UAE's Air Arabia Group. Given that PIA is a much bigger brand than any of the other Pakistani carriers, I would imagine with my little to no expertise that whoever steps up to invest in PIA would come from a place with a strong financial foundation. Case in point, the Gulf countries. Pakistan is a huge market from the Gulf region and the Middle East overall. Major airlines from this region have consistently maintained frequent services to Pakistani cities, so they understand the market. At the moment, I see Qatar Airways as the most realistic candidate for making an investment in PIA. It was actually in 2022 when reports surfaced that Qatar Airways was interested in buying a stake in PIA. And Qatar Airways are no stranger to this area. The airline already controls a decent number of stakes in various other airlines and groups, including a 49% stake in Rwanda Air, 10% stake in LATAM Airlines Group, and a 9.99% stake in Cathay Pacific. Another reason why I think Qatar Airways would be the most likely candidate is because Qatar as a country has gained a lot of influence in Pakistan recently. Allegedly, Pakistan is looking to outsource operations at Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad airports to Qatari companies. Qatar's investment authority, furthermore, has made a pledge to invest $3 billion in Pakistan as well. So, given the fact that Qatar has a solid foothold in Pakistan and Qatar Airways themselves serve 7 Pakistani destinations, Qatar Airways looks like a frontrunner of a candidate to save PIA. But I don't know, maybe we could also see the likes of Emirates pull through and make an investment. I'm not going to get into the whole history that everyone always talks about regarding how PIA helped start Emirates, and Emirates' first ever flight was from Dubai to Karachi. That exact flight still operates today, but that's a good history to be aware of. Emirates themselves have not been super vocal about what they think about playing a role in reviving PIA, but they are the biggest international airline in Pakistan at the moment, and they have been for a while now, so I'd imagine that they would like to keep and grow their influence on the country's aviation sector. Now, the last question we need to ask is whether or not PIA's privatization will be worth it. Again, I think it absolutely will. Pakistan's aviation market continues to grow rapidly on both domestic and international scales, with Skardu Airport in the country's northern areas recently being upgraded to international status. With such a growing aviation sector, Pakistan needs to have a flag carrier built on a strong foundation that can also contribute in a more significant manner to the country's economy and aviation industry. And when it comes to privatization, we can look no further than Pakistan's eastern neighbor, India. Now, there's no real comparison. India is a much larger market than Pakistan, but its flag carrier, Air India, was in a similar, albeit not as bad situation as PIA. Air India was recently privatized and taken over by the Tata Group, a huge multinational conglomerate based in India. Shortly after privatization, Air India began seeing massive positive changes, such as new orders to modernize its fleet and a completely new brand identity signifying its revival. Now, I'm not saying I want PIA to order 400 plus new planes. No, PIA doesn't need to grow that much. But the point here is that Air India is a prime example of how a struggling government-controlled airline was able to turn itself around thanks to privatization. Now granted, Air India hasn't completely outgrown its shortcomings following privatization, but these things will take time, as its CEO stated at one point. Similarly, when and if PIA is privatized, it will take time for it to fully progress and develop. Cabin refurbishments and new aircraft orders are some examples of things that are long overdue for PIA, but again, these things will take time. But once privatization gets underway, I sure hope that we will, in the years to come, see a true revival of PIA's glory days. PIA's privatization is a rather hot topic, and the things I mentioned in this video were based off of opinion and also reading that I completed from the various sources linked in the description. Let me know what you think of PIA's proposed privatization and what aspirations you have for the airline, like who could invest in it and what the airline could do to improve itself following privatization. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos coming in 2024. Also, if you're interested, check out my new Patreon while you're at it for some amazing perks. But that's it. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and Allah Hafiz.